We have a major New York Yankees trade update. As of recent report has revealed, the Yankees may be looking at a blockbuster move at shortstop, which may have a lot of Yankees fans up in arms. However, we're going to be breaking this down and looking at a very sneaky positive side of this trade. Now, before we get into all of this news here, we know 70% of you guys watching right now are not subscribed to the channel. If you're looking for a spot to get all of your New York Yankees news, you're in the right spot. Hit the sub button. Join us here on the channel. We are covering everything New York Yankees. But without any further ado, let's get into our first topic here, and really the main one of this video, which is a pretty wild report and a pretty wild trade by the New York Yankees, or proposed trade, I guess we should say at this point. This report has the New York Yankees looking to shop Anthony Volpe for a shortstop from the AL East, Bo Bichette. Now, of course, this is something that we really would not see every day. This is something that, although they may be a report of it, doesn't mean this is factual. This is from an article, and I do want to pull this up because it is a very interesting one to look at. And although the Yankees may not look at this as an ideal option, there is a very sneaky positive side to this, as I mentioned. Let's get into our first screenshot here. Looking at this, it says Bichette would be a good investment on the infield and in the lineup, especially if he can maintain health. Prasad wrote, how do we get into the Bronx? A package deal would include a main infielder such as Anthony Volpe or Oswaldo Cabrera and a prospect. Now, looking at these two players here, looking at really the options, if Oswaldo Cabrera was the one in this trade other than Anthony Volpe, that would be something that's very interesting. Oswaldo Cabrera doesn't really have a guaranteed spot in this lineup for an everyday player at this point yet. We know that Anthony Volpe does. However, both those guys are shortstops. It would be pretty tough to have Bo Bichette and Anthony Volpe both in at the same time, especially if they both want to play shortstop. That would pretty much be impossible at that point because you can only have one on the field. But looking at it that way and really looking at how this trade would work out, there is a major difference and a major discrepancy between Anthony Volpe and Oswaldo Cabrera in this whole trade scheme, I guess we could say. And the way that this package deal would work is whether it is a top prospect, likely the Blue Jays would be looking for that. That's what it would really turn out to be, a top prospect or a mediocre prospect or whatever, and Oswaldo Cabrera or Anthony Volpe. Either one would probably be a very interesting one for the Yankees to look at, but also would have their individual bonuses. Now, we know the Blue Jays as well don't really have plans for Bo Bichette, or it doesn't seem like from an outsider standpoint at least, and we know what he's like. We've been familiar with him. We've been playing against him for years. We know what Bo Bichette can do when he's on, but we also know when he's off, he is off, and that's another bit of a concerning point for the New York Yankees is whether or not he's on, and hopefully he would be on, of course. This is all speculation for this kind of standpoint, at least. It would really put us into a pretty good spot on the infield. That is no doubt. And especially with the contract stuff and everything with Bo Bichette and the Blue Jays already having to pay Vladdy, they know that they're going to have something really tough to go after for the next few seasons between those two as well. We know that Vladdy said he wanted to stay there, said he would never play for the Yankees, but Bo Bichette really seems to be indifferent about the Blue Jays, at least from an outsider standpoint once again. So I want to pull this one up as well, really kind of breaking down why this trade could be a very good one and really bring out the light in the New York Yankees to what we are looking for. And this is an arrangement with Chisholm at third, Volpe at second, and Bo Bichette at short would seemingly answer the Yankees' looming infield questions and could complete the team's pivot away from Soto and towards a more comprehensive roster in 2025. But it seems like a long shot, and a long shot indeed at that. We know that the Blue Jays probably want to try and keep Bichette if Bo Bichette wants to stay. We still really don't know about that yet, but looking up this trade, you see Chisholm would be at third, Anthony Volpe at second, and Bo Bichette at shortstop. I would consider changing Volpe, keeping him at short, and putting Bo at second. We know that Bo's arm is very wild. We've seen him make numerous errors against the Yankees and against the rest of the AL East. And that made a real question. I leave a question mark for whether or not he would be a long-time shortstop, although it seems like he could be, because when he's on, as I mentioned, and when he's off, and that goes for the fielding and at the plate. Now, Bo Bichette, no surprise to anybody, is a very good hitter, and I will pull up his stats right here. Going over his, past few seasons especially, 225 last year, that was absolutely horrible. We saw the struggle he had, but before that, the consistency, 306, 290, 298, 301, 311, all of those playing quite a few games, apart from the, of course, 2019-2020 shortened seasons. But apart from that, very consistent, a very solid OPS. Fielding was always a bit of that question where we don't really know how good he could be at the fielding aspect of his game. Needs to get better at that, and really just seemed to be kind of getting worse at it. But the hitting is one of the best shortstops in the MLB. And sucks to see him play against us, of course, but you got to give credit where credit is due, and to put him in the pinstripes would be something that we would all really like to see. And having him back at this average, of course, we know the Blue Jays also just didn't have the season they wanted to last year. Bo Bichette hurt for so many games. Nearly half, or probably is half a season, actually, with 81 games played. Exactly half a season. There we go. And having Bo Bichette healthy, would be a big aspect of his game as well, and something that would really just drive the consistency back up. And kind of comparing his stats to Anthony Volpe's of what we're looking at, Volpe really hasn't been as good as we were hoping for just yet. There still is a lot of positive aspects in his game, and we all know that he will get better, but in his second full season, we really just haven't seen that consistency that we had hoped for yet. However, as I mentioned, second full season, did see a major increase in average by just about 35 points there, and hopefully we see another jump of 35 points this year. That would be another fantastic aspect just to kind of add on top of his game, but for right now, Bo Bichette would certainly be an advantage in the hitting aspect of the game, the fielding aspect of the game for the Yankees. But how long will that last is another question. Bo is still very, very young, but will he keep up or will he, stay above Anthony Volpe on that skill level? That's a real question that the Yankees would have to kind of break down and think about going forward, and whether or not they would actually trade Volpe or trade Oswaldo Cabrera could be a very big differential between those two. And Bo Bichette's contract is another thing that I mentioned. The Jays really don't have that certainty with him, and going into a UFA in 2026, not really seeming like he has a guaranteed spot on this team, just because of kind of the mismatch between the team and himself from arbitration, from everything else. It really leads to questions as to, will he be a Blue Jay? Does he want to stay with the Blue Jays? And if he doesn't want to stay with the Blue Jays, does he really care where he goes? Would he want to go to the NL? Would he want to go to an AL East team? And, all sorts of questions will lead or will come from this, and really come from where we are at this standpoint and where we are in the season, especially how the Blue Jays perform, how the Yankees perform. We can kind of go back to the Rockies as well, where his dad Dante played. There's so many aspects of what Bo Bichette could do, and we just really hope that it could be a Toronto Blue Jays to the New York Yankees trade or signing or whatever. If it does end up being a signing and not a trade, that would just be another bonus aspect for the Yankees, not having to give anybody, any prospects that is, to the Jays for future repercussions. We've seen that across the MLB numerous times, and hopefully we don't need to see it here in this season or in future seasons at that as well. And I did want to pull up one final screenshot, kind of the depth chart. I've pulled this up in the past few videos, going over really what the look of this team right now is. As you see, Jazz starting at third, second base Oswaldo Cabrera, and shortstop Anthony Volpe, with the possibility of having Jazz move to second, DJ LeMahieu move to third. And my thoughts on that. I don't think DJ LeMahieu has a spot in this team anymore. Getting up there in age, and already up there, and has had a major, major decrease in average, fielding ability, everything over the past few seasons, and it really is time to move on from him. So, if you could, as the article said there a moment ago, put Anthony Volpe on short or second, put Bo on second or short, whatever Anthony Volpe don't play, keep Jazz on third, and now we have Paul Goldschmidt going into potentially Cody Bellinger on first. This infield is such a boost from what we have seen last season heading in from the World Series, or coming off the World Series, and would really kind of lock this down for years to come with how young this team would be, really apart from first base. But first base is something that the Yankees seem to have a bigger plan on in the future, and right now is kind of just a placeholder for the time being, but still one that will certainly be a good spot for that. So let me know, what do you think about this trade? What do you think about this whole report of the Yankees trading for Bo Bichette from the Blue Jays, getting him, signing him long-term, trading away either Anthony Volpe or Oswaldo Cabrera? If this does somehow go down, let's just hope it's Oswaldo Cabrera, but let me know what you think. Pretty wild to think about this being a possibility, although it may be a long shot, still very, very interesting to look at. So, like I said, let me know what you think, but that's all I got this video. If you did enjoy, give it a like, hit the sub button as well, but I'm signing out. Thank you for watching. Hope you have a great day. See you later.